Y'all, we're back. Season 3 of Girl Call Me with Tanya and Jessica is officially here. And let me tell you, this season, it's all about community.
Because listen, in a world that's getting wilder by the day, one thing we know for sure, we can't do this alone.
And this season, we're diving into how we show up for each other, build our circles, and find joy, no matter what's going on in this crazy world.
And of course, we're bringing our usual mix of real talk, hot topics, and deep conversations because you know we have things to discuss.
We're definitely talking about the mess, from pop culture chaos to politics to the wildest headlines you didn't even know you missed. We got you.
But we're also making sure we make time to celebrate the women who are out here shining. So grab your tea, get comfy, and get ready for a season full of laughs, love, and the kind of conversations you need in your life.
It's season 3, and we're just getting started.
Hey, it's Wednesday. How are you feeling?
Pretty in pink. Do you believe
Fabulous.
that?
No. No, well, I mean, only if we're releasing the video do people know we're wearing pink, but
Oh yeah.
um
I think I have one piece of pink clothing. I may have two. So when I pull this out, it feels very out of the norm for me. But it's raining in LA.
it's
What?
raining in LA. It's cold in LA. I think it was 50 degrees today. And honestly, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm
Yeah.
over the bad weather. I'm over worrying about, needing an umbrella. This is just not the
I
life I
know.
chose. This is not the life I chose.
It's not the life I chose.
Mhm.
I'm
How
on
about
a new journey. I could share my morning ritual.
Oh.
Um, yes, I've transitioned to matcha. I've transitioned to matcha. I had been dilly-dallying with a half calf recently, because I was just wondering, was I taking in too much caffeine? Um, because I was like felt jittery sometimes.
Huh.
So I started doing half calf, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt a lot of judgment from baristas on a half calf. I was like, every time I'd say half calf, like, oh, okay, yeah. And I'm gonna go on a rant for a second. The amount of caffeine people drink is kind of wild. Like the most I could do is 2 shots of espresso in a drink. Sometimes people are going and they're like, I hear people ordering like, oh yeah, I'll get the large with 4 shots of espresso. If I had 4 shots of espresso, I would be shooting through this roof right now. Like there's just like no option. Those must be people who just their baseline is much lower than mine.
I think
But
people need it. Why are you judging
at
people who
one
need it?
time,
I will
no, I'm
say
like,
my
I don't know
wife
how they
drinks
operate.
coffee all day long. 10 o'clock at night. She's like, oh, I need a coffee. I'm like, okay,
I must just
all day,
be it. Look,
all
I
day.
have anxiety, so I just run hot generally. So I think that if I do more than 2 shots, I don't even know what would happen. It's like so. Anyway, I've transitioned to matcha.
Good.
This is an idea that I got from someone who we went and saw, who we'll talk a little bit about as a healer, and who was just talking to me about some properties of matcha that may help me, and also like the warmthness and starting my days there in terms of ritual, because I was an iced americano gal. So
Okay.
anyway, I'm 3 days
Okay.
in. I'm feeling
How is
great.
it? How are you feeling? How are you
Right
feeling?
now I'm fine. Yeah, but
Are you feeling renewed? Are you
I
feeling
you know
at
there
peace?
I
The
thought it was
warmth
a
of
little
it?
yeah, the warmth actually did change it up a little bit for me. Like I was like, "Oh, I this is actually a kind of comforting,
Hmm,
soothing thing, different than warm coffee." Like it actually I don't
hmm.
know. I know matcha's not for everyone, like the taste, like it's a little too
My wife loves it. My wife loves a good
yeah.
matcha.
It's like people who don't like wheatgrass, but I really like wheatgrass. So, but that's a lot of people
Uh,
don't like the taste of that
You
either.
know what? I'm just gonna say one thing. Between the
How
wheatgrass
California do I sound?
Girl,
Jesus.
California, them California black people. I'm just saying
Oh,
between the wheatgrass,
the
the
sound
cold
bath,
plunge,
the cold
the
plunge,
sound plunge. Come on, where's
the
the birch?
sound plunge.
Do you have something the
That's
cold
the
plunge?
cross between the
The
2.
cold
I'm going down in the cold plunge while listening to music and just
Yeah, we know
drowning
that there are
myself.
Birkenstocks somewhere in your closet. There
Girl,
has to be.
guilty.
Ooh, I was I was just joking.
No,
You
girl.
have Birkenstocks? Girl,
Mm,
you're
mm.
granola.
I know. Jesus.
Oh
I
my
know.
god.
I hid it for a while. When I lived in New York, it was
Closet
odd.
granola. Is that like I wanna closet
Yeah.
granola.
I think that I moved back to California, it's just like it pulls you out. What I don't do is shop with my dog in the store. I don't have a dog.
I do.
See, okay. So I'm gonna start to pull some California things out of you so I don't feel so alone here.
First of all,
Shopping with the dog,
Leo has
putting a
gone to
dog in the
Home Goods.
stroller ever at a farmer's market.
Yeah?
Okay. 2, strike 2. This is reading very California. What would a third be? Do you drive an electric car?
Yes, but you know that. That was judgment. Yes, I do.
Oh,
Plug
I'm feeling
it's
so much better. I'm feeling
it's
so much
plugged
better.
in. It's
I'm not
plugged in right
alone.
now.
I'm not alone in my California. At least it's not. It's not a Doge-mobile,
Girl,
an
it will never be.
Elon-mobile.
It's a Subaru. It's a
I
lesbian
was gonna
mobile.
let you say it, not me.
That's yes, it's the lesbian mobile. I'm loud and
Sponsors. Hey,
proud.
we're happy to have sponsors, Subaru.
Subaru, call us. Call us. It's funny because this is a really good conversation because my best friend, we won't say her name, but she may come on the show one day with force. Often says,
Delta.
often
Delta Force.
Delta Force, bring that
Divine
red
Nine
out.
Force. Yeah.
Bring that red out. Often says that blacks from California,
Sound
black
like
women
Trump.
those blacks
Blacks from California. Huh?
those black women from California are very different than our East Coast sisses.
Southern. Also Southern.
Southern, East Coast. Do you think that's true?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we're both sitting here in pink sweaters talking about granola, matcha, and electric cars. So
Are
I'm
you
gonna go
telling
with
me that the
yes.
East Coast, nobody in New York got ordered a matcha this morning and
No,
they put their dog
it's
in a stroller?
it's not the
It's a
single.
culture. It's a different thing. They're saying that there's a depth of
Yeah,
community
that's what I'm
that we
saying.
don't have in
Yes.
California, particularly
Yes.
rooted in the Black community that they have. And I
I agree
feel,
with
I
this.
feel, I argue with it. I yell at
I
it.
don't.
I argue with her, and I said, "You don't know us," and
And she's like, I live here, been
I
here.
know you. I have seen you. So you agree? You
I do
agree?
agree. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask all of our East Coast and Southern sisters to chime in.
Don't
Let
forget
us
about the
know
North. What's the
the
Midwest
North.
like? Or the Midwest?
I'm not gonna
Not the
say it.
Pacific Northwest. Don't worry about Dolezal. That tells Rachel Dolezal tells you everything you need to know about that.
Rachel Dolezal,
Oh,
always
uh,
point of reference. When it
honestly,
comes
because I think her story, at the time her story came out, I don't know that it would be so funny now to me, but I probably
no.
would still be, but it was so wild when all of us were like screaming, "Listen to us. Our lives matter." The fact that she was
She
leading a chapter of women in the Pacific Northwest who thought she was the downest there was, and then they did that documentary, and you're like, "Wait, what?" It just was so funny to me. I don't know. It literally wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, like, it couldn't have been funnier. Where is she now, by
yeah,
the way? Should we
you
have
know,
her on?
we're you know what? Yeah,
Oh
she
my
would
god.
be our
Comes
first,
on,
white,
she talks about matcha and a pink sweater, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, no."
I can't. I can't with shenanigans. So, we're gonna talk about first of all, we were gonna talk a little bit about going back to as someone who attended from my early years in Brooklyn. So I'll say that I'm a little East Coast, just a little, but was raised in California, went to junior high school, college in California. I think I will say that one of our most popular episodes was our junior high chatter, in which we talked about you being a almost Olympic athlete and my
You
peer
being the
counseling.
mascot.
Me being big Huskies, hey, me being a mascot. You know what we missed out? I wanted to talk a little bit about the 20s.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what?
Okay.
What was Jessica? See, Jessica was very confident. Jessica
No,
thought she had it all
who
together,
other
and you in high school, you thought
Oh,
you had it
yes.
all
Sure.
together in high
Sure,
school.
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I
But
think yes, for sure.
what happened after graduation day?
After graduation day. I think in my 20s, maybe what happened is that I probably held on. mm, I don't know if I held on to that confidence, but I think I ended up self-doubt was a little bit more,
Mm,
present. I think probably because I didn't have maybe sport or something like that, like, I these kind of pillars of my identity, living in a community where people know you and know your family, and then you play a sport, and then whatever.
yeah.
Like, I didn't have that anymore, and so I think and as we talk a lot about community, I think I had a lot of my identity came from the communities in which I was a part of, which is not unique.
Yeah.
But I think when I went away to college, I struggled with what is that community. And I went away to college, at whatever, 18, and I wasn't in a sorority, wasn't playing sports, and I struggled with that. And I remember actually really being scared because my sophomore year of college, I moved off campus and I went to
And
kind
you
of
were
a
in California, right? You were
yeah,
in
I was
San
in a
Bernardino, right?
no, at
Mhm.
that time I was in Sacramento, but at a big, state university that was a big commuter school. And so, I'm 19, I move off campus, and I suddenly felt like I was like, "Is this the rest of my life?" type of thing, right? Because 'Cause I'm living in an apartment complex with not all college kids. I started working at a job in retail, Performance Fleece, Old Navy.
Oh god,
I
I
mean,
love it.
the denim wall, the fleece, yeah, the whole thing. But I remember having this moment where I was like, "Is this the rest of my life?" Like, I really felt like I fast forwarded and I'm like, "I don't have anything except for, like,
Good
I don't have
jeans?
anything to connect into except for fleece, except for trying to get people to open up credit cards for fleece that they don't need." And, I really and I right after that is when I transferred and I came down to San Bernardino, and I think I found a lot of friends who were also searching and seeking community and felt a lot more comfortable, but I definitely I won't even say lost myself because I don't think I knew who I was for the first time, and I felt like a little bit of a blank canvas.
It's funny because continue on this conversation when we were talking about being that West Coast Black person.
Yeah, the California is different, and that's why when you asked me earlier about, like, the Black community in California, I, like, was so nodding so emphatically about how I think it is different and harder to lock into it in California than in other places. Because when I was in my late 20s and I moved to New York and I moved to Harlem, like, I, like, got off the 2 train and I was like, "Oh, I'm home." Like, "Oh, there's someone asking me for, like, if I wanna buy some shea butter. There's someone asking me if
Oh
I
Lord,
need
the
my
shea
hair
butter.
brushed. I need my hair
Always,
braided."
always
I
shea
got,
butter.
like, women who look like me walking by, people tell me I'm beautiful, men hollering, like, I was suddenly like, "Oh, I'm home." Like, this is New York's a little different because 'cause you're, like, immersed in it. You're, like,
Yeah,
walking around. But California's tough. I mean, I went to when I went to college and I didn't I felt like people thought I was snobby, I'm sure, because I grew up in
mhm.
all white spaces,
Yeah,
and so I didn't fit in
yeah,
terms of, like, no one was coming after me saying, "Girl, you gotta pledge, blah, blah." No, that was not
yeah.
happening. Like, we'll have the people on to talk about why they called
Call
you
them. Really? We can call them. Call them.
call the
Call me
girls
now.
call the
Call me
girls from my
now.
dorm floor who were like, "I'm good on her." So I don't I had a hard time, I think, in Sacramento for sure. I think in San Bernardino, there's more Black people. It's where I met my
Yeah,
husband also. So I think I naturally by that time, I'm a little older, and I feel like I gravitated towards Black people, and I feel like I felt more confident and comfortable because when I first went away to school, I'm not gonna blame it on other people. I mean, I think I wasn't comfortable in my own skin either, and I think you can read that on people.
yeah,
And so I think it took a while to be on my own and really understanding where I fit. And that's
yeah.
what I say, like, later in your 20s, when I went to New York or even other places when I travel, was a lot more comfortable because I was a lot more confident.
Yeah, I think I would say I was probably a little more confused than the average. I think my best friend would say that I was "We are the world." She was like, "You're just we are the world."
That was your energy?
That was
Melting
me.
pot,
Melting pot, everyone is
apple,
good,
anything
everyone's
very unique.
great. right. I was
Oh, how the
around.
tables have turned.
Lord have it. You know, and so I had a very non-traditional. I often mentioned that I was raised by my grandmother. And around that time of being 18, 19, I mean, although I was having fun and I was trying to be a husky, I was also trying to be a husky, going with my friends, doing all that angel hey. I was also dealing with a parent that was dying. And, she had been dying for 10 years. And so I took, what was plans to go to Pepperdine and other institutions. I took a break and I didn't actually go back to school until my later in my 20s. So but I was venturing, I think when she passed, the choice was to either go to New York City and be with my family or to stay in California and be on my own. And I chose to stay in California and be on my own. And I remember my father going, "Are you serious?" And I said, "I got this." And I did. And so I connected with different people. I started a catering business. I was entrepreneuring. You know, I did catering for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I connected with someone who got me in to learn the business. And then when she retired, I took it over. And then I will say it, I met some people at a church. And from there, I think, going back to community, I was searching. I was by myself.
Sure.
I had good friends, but I was still kind of by myself. And yes, I would say that this church was very mixed. Lots of people
Melting
who
pot. You found your
melted
melting pot.
pot. We were all singing good songs. And there, I think I'm drumming in
I
the band. Listen, I was
I've
doing I was
said
doing the
this
most.
I've said this before. I said this gives Jim Jones, but keep going.
I Jim. We had campus ministries.
Is
So at the
gives Jim
time,
Jones.
so at the
Uh-huh.
time I was back on campus. There was a
Yeah, yeah.
campus ministry, and we
Yeah.
had the young group of young
We took trips
people.
down to South America and
We took but, one could have said that maybe it was a little bit too deep into Christianity. I was studying the Bible with people, but in many ways, it was community for me,
of course. Yeah,
and it
yeah.
protected me in a lot of ways. I think that, what may have been Tanya in the streets was Tanya. I was not in the streets. I was in the streets inviting people to church. And that's and that's how I met my best friend 30 years later.
Well,
But
let's be clear. You met her. I wanna make
uh,
sure we're giving her
her
story.
flowers.
You were trying to recruit her. You didn't meet her at the church.
And one thing I love to do is host dinner parties. And so I met her. We were in the grocery store. I said, "You look like me. We should be friends.
You
Can you
should
meet?
come to my dinner party.
You should come to my dinner party." She loved food, and she didn't realize that I was inviting her to church. Now, fast forward in hindsight, that story is crazy. But
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I've heard that story. The first time I heard that story, it didn't seem crazy to me. It just seemed uh, like that's just it seems like something like wild you would say to someone. But now that I know the backstory of what your intentions were of the
it was
invitation,
it's
it
crazy.
was a little bit cuckoo.
But I think for me, I going back to how you were saying, I didn't really have my Jamaican family, very different. I didn't have a lot of roots in, I
Yeah,
would say, the community in a sense, right? It took me moving to New York, moving to Syracuse, in which I was reminded how black I was,
right.
for me to be like, oh, okay,
Well,
this
this is
is
yeah. I mean, this is why I always say that, like, I know, when we talk about DEI, why I think inclusion is so important
yeah,
because when you can show up authentically as yourself and without even realizing that's what you're doing, but you
yeah,
just feel that much safety and comfort, that is like game changing. Like
yeah,
for your human spirit, it is game changing. And I don't
yeah,
think people who I it, DEI has been getting, a lot of attention in the media and like people are throwing the word around and whatever. Like if we We're
It's
never
deeper than
allowed to
an
say
acronym.
we're
It's
never
deeper than
allowed to
that.
say DEI again, like, it is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, for when it comes to self-discovery and it comes to feeling whole, I think that unless you have ever been somewhere where
Mhm.
you don't even know that you don't feel like you belong until you
Yes.
step into a space where you belong, right?
Yeah.
It's that, like, thing that I can't stand when someone goes and travels abroad and they're like, "It was crazy. Everyone was coming up to me because I looked different and I had blonde hair," and you're like, "Oh, okay.
Girl,
I'm sorry."
have your you touched my hair last week,
Right.
so what are you talking about?
You asked me when I got braids if my hair was,
Is
really
that
that
you?
long,
Is that
like,
all
2 days
you?
ago. Yeah. But I
Right.
think people underestimate that power of, like, when you walk into a room or a subway train or a state, whatever, a bodega, call it whatever you want, and you
Right.
look around and everyone looks like you, and you start getting attention for good, that's a really powerful thing, and I think when you're
Yeah.
in your 20s searching for community,
Yeah.
regardless of if you whatever community you grew up in or if you felt like you were part of the yeah, it doesn't matter, that's really powerful,
Yeah.
especially when you're searching for something.
And I've often wondered, like, yeah, I've often hoped and wished that I had figured this out earlier because I think there was some missteps in my interactions and how I treated people. But I think that I'm glad I got there and I'm glad I found community. And I
Yeah,
think regardless of our situation, I think about a lot of I've worked on a lot of college campuses throughout my whole career. I've seen these students and I see, girl, you are looking for your community. Girl, find that community
right.
because I mean, they can be there. You go, I feel there were points that I was lost.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I
because
was
when you're
so
yeah,
lost that I
when you're
caught up into some church.
well, because when you're in high school, I think that's the thing I've talked about this before with my friends, right? Like, your community oftentimes is circumstantial, right? It's
Right.
because you live on the same street, because you're, whatever, you play on the same team, because you go to the same school, because. And when you step out on your own and it's time for you to build that on your own, you actually have to be like, what do I want to be a part of? What do I
Right.
like? Who are the people I
Right.
want to be surrounded? And that's not a 20s thing. That's a girl, I'm doing that in my 40s. But
Mm.
that's the first time I feel like where you're challenged with that.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard thing because you don't actually, I mean, not that we all know who we are now, but at 20, you really don't know who the hell you are. Girl, I didn't stop. I I knew that
I feel like
I
I
was at
know
the
who I
bottom.
am. Oh, you were
No,
yeah.
I'm saying
Well,
at
you were
19 and 20,
girl, at 19, I was
we
drunk
don't
on
know
Melrose.
exactly.
Nobody knows what Melrose, showing my giving a pretending like I was in a Mardi Gras or something, showing stuff. I mean, it was like, listen,
Oh, wow. Here we
the
go,
the
finally. I think
nope,
I was doing the same thing probably just I spent a lot of time shout out to my friends in San Diego. I spent a lot of time in San Diego, a lot of long weekends that were not supposed
lot
to
of
be
long
long weekends. They
weekends.
started off, I'm going down for Friday, and I came back
Right.
Monday morning, bought an outfit on the way to work.
How many times did I end up in Mexico with my head being shaken up, with something getting poured down my throat?
Oh,
I mean,
talk about
you know what I'm
oh,
saying?
talk about the good old days. Jeez Louise.
What week my stomach and I didn't wake up feeling like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, next.
Ne
Next day."
pinky
Right?
neck. Shout out
Thank
Ariana.
you. You right. Now, Lord, I can barely have a glass of wine without having a headache the next day. I
How
can't.
sad is that? How sad is that like, when you're out at dinner, if this happened to me the other day, I was out at dinner, it was, like, 9:30, 8:30, so it was a late dinner, and I saw the wine and I was like, "If I
Uh,
have a glass of this,
my
what's this gonna
head,
do when I have
my
to wake up
stomach,
and go to, like, Costco in the morning at 9?" Like, because I didn't have
just
anything to do the next day,
did you
but
say
I'm worried
Costco?
yeah, I'm worried about the one glass of wine, like,
Yeah.
railroading my whole Sun
I mean, we're
how
not
embarrassing.
glorifying the early days of
Jessica,
TJ.
and let me
But
just give a shout out to Jessica, 25-year-old Jessica. You did your thing, girl. Don't don't,
oh, yeah. Hey,
yeah.
girl.
Hey, girl, you did your thing. Don't ever let anyone tell you you did too much. You
You
lived that
know,
life.
but we need to give a shout out to 40-year-old Jessica too, because
Sure. Yeah,
because
looking out for yourself.
you're making it through. You got your
You know,
cholesterol. You know what your numbers are. You
Making
took
sure I'm
your
right at Costco. I can still hit them strides down the aisles.
girl, okay. Then listen, I'm gonna say a big
Can
high
we get a
five to
sponsorship,
Costco.
Costco? Thank you.
Costco, because you are doing it right for
We're
our
doing it
people.
right. And you know what you said? You said when
Thank
Target said,
you.
finally we can get rid of this DEI. Costco was like, you know what? We're standing by.
We're
We're here for
standing
you.
by.
We're here for
And,
you, community.
and let me talk about their stocks.
And we got the right.
It's
And we got those
working.
$5 chickens for you. Come get them.
Okay. Girl, nobody's eating those $5 chickens. I'm just gonna
Look,
say. Those
look,
$5 chickens are plumped full of stuff. But remember,
look. Plenty
50-year-old
of
Tanya
people are
needs
eating
to
those. Plenty of people are actually, that would have been if you were in college, that would have been the move. Like, go get yourself one of those
Oh,
chickens. You could eat all week. $5?
I'm sure students all over the world are getting those $5 chickens and
Shout
making it
out.
through. Shout
Shout
out
out.
to all the college
Look,
students
and that
right
would be a
now.
healthy choice. I mean, that'd be better than them going to like Del Taco and getting,
Taco
whatever.
Bell with no
Taco
meat.
Bell.
That's not real meat, is it? We lost that sponsorship.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's
Yeah.
not real meat.
My husband, I actually, if I had to pick a fast food restaurant, I probably would pick Taco Bell, which I know is going to make people all over this place be like disgusted by me. My husband's disgusted by that, but I like Taco Bell.
What are you eating at Taco Bell? I'm just
I don't
curious.
go there. I don't go
And
there. I'm saying,
this is foreign. No, you just said you
I said
like
if I
Taco
had
Bell.
to pick a fast food, I eat fast food probably 6 times a year.
Well,
So
what is
if
your
I had
go-to? What's your go-to?
a quesadilla,
Okay.
maybe a quesadilla,
Right.
yeah, chicken quesadilla.
Well, as funny.
Shade,
We're talking about
California
ignoring it.
shade, by the way.
Girl, nobody. I mean,
Douche.
although there's always a line at Taco Bell and McDonald's,
Okay.
I never understand. I never understand.
McDonald's is trash. I'm sorry. Anyone who's like McDonald's is trash
I have people who love McDonald's,
in your life.
and
You're like, listen, I have McDonald's lovers in my life. I don't
I'm
want to
not
exclude
gonna.
anybody. Not
Right.
gonna shit on them.
Hey, friends. What would you
That was
say
the tangent.
to
Sorry.
your 20? Right, we went far.
Went there.
Come on back. Come on back. At some point, we have to talk about
It
Michelle
would be
Obama's
funny though if your our episode on 20s was like brought to you by everything that we consumed in our
McDonald's,
20s.
Taco Bell.
Brought to you by Taco Bell. Brought to you by Boone's Farm. Do I have any Boone's Farm drinkers out
Bob's.
there?
How about Bob's
Shout
Big
out.
Boy? Bob's Big Boy was the
Oh,
place. Girl,
okay.
remember Bob's Big Boy?
Yes, I
Love
do.
Bob's Big Boy. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I will. I don't know if I will. I can still get arrested, but I had my only and last dine and dash experience in high school. It was like a dare,
At Bob's Big
and
Boy.
Bob's Big Boy in the Valley, and we
Valley
went
Billy.
in.
That's not what
Yeah, we went in, and I was like, okay, can I just tell you? I had to run because I heard. I think they called the police, and I was
Oh,
running and
how many
running.
up there were you?
There was 3 of us.
Okay.
Okay, Angel and
So the
Jason. I
bill,
mean,
of course, are we shocked? So the bill was like at that point, like probably $22.
probably $22, and we were like, "Okay, let's make a run for it." I mean, I don't know if this is like a good I don't know. It
I
sounds
never
bad.
did that, but I mean, it does.
Am I the only diner
Does
dasher
speak to
on
your
our
character. I mean, I'm just gonna say you came for me when I said I ate Taco Bell, and now you're talking about dining and dashing at Bob's Big Boy. So I
It
feel,
was
I
high
feel
school.
seen. I feel seen. I feel like you're more on my level now. You-
What this one I mean, I stole something versus Taco Bell. I guess maybe mine is worse.
yeah, definitely. Also, like, what were you eating at Bob's Big Boy? This was like
There was a burger. I mean, what did you
exactly.
eat
So
at
it's
Bob
like
Big Boy? Is it still
I,
do they still exist? I wonder if it's still in the valley.
yes, it does. There is one in the valley still.
Maybe I should go and give them some money.
Oh, that would be a hilarious
That'd be a
episode.
video. Do
That
I
would
need to,
definitely look like you were
record it?
someone who came out of, like, a therapy thing where they were like, go make amends with anybody.
I was in
You're like,
rehab and
"First
I said,
stop."
"Okay, I did
Yeah,
a
you're like,
I
"First
did
stop
it."
is Bob's Big Boy." I know how to get there.
First stop. But what would you tell if you could give advice to your 20-year-old self? We did that at our last episode.
Yeah,
What advice would you tell her?
don't rush.
Mm,
Like, these are the
mm,
years. This is it.
Did you
I mean, I
That's all you got. That's all you got, girl.
100%. I mean, one, I felt like there was this sense of like, you got to get to adulthood that
Mm,
was like on my back, right? I think that's a little bit because I was in college and like it was like, you got to finish in 4 years. I don't know why I felt that pressure. Got to
yeah.
get done in 4 years, got to get out, got to start working. And I think I would have just told myself, slow down. I think the other thing is, even in the self-discovery process, even in trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do for a career and where it's like, just slow down. I think had I taken more had I been more intentional with time when I was younger in my 20s, I think it would have helped me in my 30s and 40s. I because
Mm,
I feel like when you're an excited person, I was having fun and I was motivated,
yeah.
the like, I can you could mistake that speed and that, like, drive, and sometimes you're just, like, moving for the sake of moving, and I
Yeah.
think I get caught up doing that all the time now, so I think my 20s, I would just say, like, take a beat, slow
Take a
down.
beat.
Everything is in front of you.
Yeah.
Everything is in front of you, and you don't have to get there today.
Yeah, I think I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I think for me, I was so hungry for a community. I was so, I don't think I dealt with the loss of my family, my grandmother for years. I didn't
Yeah,
even enter therapy until I think my 30s. I would have probably said, it's okay. It's okay to hurt. It's
right.
okay to feel pain. And don't wait. Go now. Go to school. You don't have to start, don't wait and delay it. Go now. You don't need to have that business or, you know, go. I would have probably advised that person to go to New York, go home, do the soft life, have someone take care of you
Mm,
and not feel as though I don't need anybody to take care of me. I can do this on my own.
yeah.
And
Oof,
it's not a regret, but it's
yeah,
also it's not like maybe a different decision would have
right,
made my life so much easier in some
right.
ways.
Yeah.
But, I'm still happy with how I turned out.
Have you seen that you should be. Well, let me pause there. You should be.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
I think have you seen that, like, kinda, I don't know, trend or whatever on social where people, like, write a love letter
Mm.
or they write, like they recap oh, like, Carrie. Carrie, who was on our first season,
Yeah.
who's our friend who's a trainer and works at Form Fitness, shout out Form Fitness in Brooklyn.
Shout out.
She did the most beautiful post. I was, like, crying. I sent her a note because we had already talked about, like, how
Mhm.
remember when we were talking to her, we are like, "Girl, if we slow down." We told her, "Slow down. Like, you're
We
young."
did tell her to slow down because she's in her
But
20s, and I was like, "Girl,
yes.
it's okay. It's
But
okay."
she did the most beautiful post where she, like, narrated if she would have gone to coffee with, like, her younger self, and the
Mm,
questions that her younger self was asking her
I love that.
about "Are we doing this yet? Did we say we're gonna do this?" And then the responses from, like, adult her to that younger self and helping, like, provide perspectives. It's the most I've seen a couple people do it, and it's the most beautiful kind of expression of self-love, but
We
I
might need
also
to do that on social and,
oh
like,
my
encourage
god,
people to
yeah.
do it and tag her in it,
W
like, because
we
I would love
we
to see
might
it.
yeah, I'll do mine. It'll probably take me, like, 7 years to process and write that, so I'll get back to you. But it's a really beautiful experience, the exchange back and forth,
Yeah,
because you can I mean, I think for all of us, like, I can go back to those feelings of a 25-year-old, like, it's, like, visceral, like, you're like, "Oh my gosh," like, I remember what I felt, and
I remember.
to be able to just go back and say, like, this isn't that important.
Right,
Guess what? You spent so much time on that, you never talk to that person again.
right,
You didn't need to do that,
right.
or
Take a
just
breath.
take a
Take
breath.
a breath, sis. Take a
I
breath.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't you
really
don't need to cuss
beautiful.
everybody out. You don't need to go off on ev you
Is that
don't.
was that your experience?
I mean, it can be a little
Maybe,
hot. It can be a lot it can be.
Tanya. So everyone is getting a great vision of Tanya, like, dining and dashing. What did you say? Living, like, taking what did you say you were
Living
doing
on
on
tables,
Melrose?
standing on
Yeah, doing something on Melrose.
right,
Uh
shaking my groove thing on
Getting
Melrose.
your head spun in San Diego. or in Mexico, excuse me.
Mexico, and then,
Obviously San Diego.
and then maybe cutting people off.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
I wanna we've been talking about shine, shines just shine. We've given, we've talked about several people. Cynthia Erivo is my favorite. I still am so excited about her performance at the Oscars.
What's the song again? Gravity.
Gravity, which you need to listen to, or just go on our social media and
I
listen to it
haven't heard
there.
it. Okay.
All you have to do, I make it easy for
I'll
you.
find it. I'll find it.
Find it. One person I want to shout out is our only first lady who started a podcast herself for her and her
Yeah,
brother,
shout
the
out.
Robinsons. The
Welcome.
Robin,
Welcome,
well,
niche. Welcome to the community.
welcome. Call us.
Call us, girl. Welcome to the community. Happy to provide
Right.
some
I
tips,
think her
whatever
higher
you need.
ground. Maybe they're going to start doing podcasts. Their kind of
We're
network.
here for hire if you need somebody.
Did you say for hire?
Yeah,
Okay.
girl.
Sure. No, but I wanted to give high five for her because I'm looking forward to listening to her and her brother. I think that's going to be a really good show. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And, I want to shout out to us. We are shining, and we had an incredible
Shining,
opportunity.
shining, shining,
We
shining.
shining. We're shining. We had an incredible opportunity to be on a show, be interviewed by Joy from Coffee with Joy. And that was so much fun. Joy is truly joyful.
I was gonna say, I feel like if you're named Joy and you don't live up to that name, like,
Right.
you know, what are you doing with your life? And I would say
Mhm.
I would say that Joy, when we met
Yeah.
her, I was like, "Oh, this is why you're named this. Like, this is
Right.
a calling for you to
Right.
just be full of
Right.
all the beautiful
Full of
the
all the
beautifulness."
energy. Right.
Yes,
And
love her.
so that was really fun, and that people will be seeing in the next couple weeks or so. But you are also going to be taking some time, taking a vacation, a little respite to go and, maybe ponder and be in water or something like that.
Yes,
Um,
healing spaces,
Healing
water.
spaces, water. But
Yes.
we just wanted to continue to say thank you to all of our listeners who, we love doing this. This is really fun. It's never work. It's always enjoyable because one, you, Jessica, because doing this with you has been fun. But also, I love the comments. I love hearing from people. And I love our people who are fans who are actively listening to us. And so, truly grateful for all of you.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you're listening and you have already done or you're willing to share kind of your conversation with your younger self, if you're watching this on YouTube, put it in the comments below or wherever you listen, hit us up on Instagram because I'd love to hear people's advice. Well, first of all, tell us if you have a crazy 20-year-old story that you haven't told in a long time and
Yes.
you want to get it out there. But also share your kind of advice that you would give to your younger self. I think we talk about community and I think it's fun to be able to hear from each other and understand how similar we all were and also like the differences and yeah, love to hear from you. Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.